So when you're done building your movie and you've delivered your movie and everyone's happy, you may want to archive it. Maybe place it on a hard drive and shelf it for a few weeks, few months, or even a few years, depending on the agreement you have with your client or whatever you are comfortable with. I like to call this media management. So I'm going to use my finished movie here. This is my sequence. I'm going to use this as an example. Let's pretend this is done, client is happy, and I'm ready to move on. Well, I like to shelf my projects on an external drive for at least 6 months, maybe longer. And in order to do that, Premiere really gives us a lot of cool options. So let's back this up. Let's media manage this particular sequence, which is my finished movie. So I'm going to click on this sequence. I'm going to navigate up to the word file here at the top, mouse click, and then I'll select Project Manager. And when I do that, I'll get this Project Manager window. And as I work my way from the top down, you'll notice that there's this word sequence here. These are all the sequences in my project. And I may or may not want all of my sequences, but I do want my project sequence, which is this guy right here. And that's the reason why it's checked, because I selected it before I got to this point. With that, I could select others, but this is the only one that makes sense, at least for my project. This is my finished sequence. And so as I move down from there, there are really two options in this middle portion here. Do I want to collect all the files and basically copy and move to a new location? Yes. In this case, I want to go to an external drive, which is great. And so these items are going to be grayed out. But over here to the right, you do have some options, just like it says right here. Do you want to exclude unused clips? You could, if it makes sense, or if it doesn't, uncheck that. And notice that some of these are grayed out. And if you read these are all pretty straightforward. Do you want to include audio conform files? Do you want to include preview files, rename? So I would say basically anything that's checked, I would say you probably want to leave checked. Now, down below is the destination. Where do you want this to go? Well, you can click on Browse. And if you have an external drive like I do right here, there it is. I can create a new folder. And maybe I'll call this let's see, Project 01 Backup, okay? And I'll select Create. And that's really, you would want to name this something that makes a little more sense, but name it whatever you want within whatever location or any external drive that you want, and then select Choose. Now that will, of course, be the location. And now the cool thing about this is Premiere is going to give me an estimated disk space available, and it will also tell me what the size of the project is. So, this is cool. It tells me that I've got plenty of space on that external drive, and if I want to hit this calculate button, Adobe will go through, and it's telling me here that the original project is about 7.5 gigs, but my sequence only is 2.2. So this is really handy to have. I really like this a lot. Now, from this point forward, all I have to do is click on the OK button, and it does its thing. But I do want to talk about something that I really like a lot, and that is this other option, Consolidate and Transcode. So what is this and why would I do it? Well, let's click on it first. The reason why this is here is because in reality, when you build your movie, you are going to have all kinds of different codecs and different formulas. For instance, you're mixing photos and videos, and you've got audio in there and all these different flavors to build your movie. What this will allow you to do is it'll do exactly what it's saying it's doing. It will consolidate and transcode your source to a different format, and you can even select a preset. So let's check this out. Here for source, I can click on this and I've got sequence, just my sequence, individual clips, or preset. Now, actually, I want to go back and select individual clips, because I may want to then transcode all my clips to one codec. That makes sense to me. I may want to do that. So here under format, I do have some options. I can select DNX HD, which is Avid. I can select MXF OP1A and QuickTime. I prefer QuickTime. So I'm going to go with QuickTime, and then underneath there I have the presets, and this happens to be a really good one, GoPro Cineform. I really like that. But then I also have ProRes, which I also like as well. These are both really good, by the way. I'm going to go with Apple ProRes, or if I have a preset that's sitting outside, I can import it by clicking on this. But I really like this Apple Pro here, so I'm going to go with it. Now, the options over here are, of course, self-explanatory. Again, do I want to exclude unused clips? You may or may not want to. Do you want to include handles with 30 frames on both ends? Why not? Rename media files to match the clip names? Sure. Now, then of course you can convert After Effects compositions to clips, which is a good idea if you have any After Effects items within your project. But notice how it's not checked. So again, these are all just going to have to be decided by you based on the project that you're working with. Now, down here in this area, you can click on Browse to choose the location. I already spoke about that. And then, of course, Calculate. I already spoke about that. But this is really cool because then you're going to make every clip match. All the codecs that you may have used in your sequence will then be the same when you select OK. This is such a great way to go. I really like this a lot. It's basically the media management capabilities with the conversion, which I think is awesome. Now, the Consolidate is based on the original project size. When you hit Calculate, you're only going to bring over 2 gigs out of 6.5 gigs. So that's really what that means. But the transcode is really the cool part. If you wanted the entire project, you would just go over here and click all these items here. And then you would also, uncheck Exclude Unused Clips. And then, of course, you would get everything. But this is a great option. I highly recommend that you utilize, at least this one here to move and archive your project. And then, of course, the Consolidate and Transcode is another good way to go. So a lot of good stuff in this lesson. I'm certain you'll find this very handy for future archiving of your projects. And this was definitely worth watching.